Welcome back, subscribers. This is Johnny Hopper, and in today's video, there's going to be no whining. Well, can't promise you that. There's probably going to be some whining. But it's about the rules and the changes that are going on because of this COVID-19. I will go in more in depth with the actual rule book. I'll post it up here for you guys to read as well as I go through it. But essentially, I'm just going to start from the top down because I know a lot of you guys don't end up watching my full videos, which is fine. I mean, we all know what FINE stands for. It stands for frustrated, irritated, nervous, and emotional. But that's for another topic. Anyway, let's start with the Safe to Race task force that's been invented by MX Sports to try to have safe tech inspection, autograph signing, podium speeches, lining up to the gate, having people come into the races. Had to happen. I would say that that's probably a good thing. There's a bunch of good things, mediocre things, and then downright just silly things that have been changed. But it's all to the benefit of MX Sports and the entity. This is just MX Sports. This is for motocross, not for Supercross. Supercross is probably going to implement some different things as well. But just getting into amateur motocross. Amateur motocross, they are in Plan C. They've canceled all area qualifiers, and the season is postponed until June 7th. So nothing is happening in May, which is a bummer. They're still going to have the amateur and youth and vet regionals at all 8 of them. They just haven't released a schedule yet. They're working frantically to try to figure out what's going to happen. Absolutely super tough for them because of all the states not opening, some opening, just different times. It's hard to get a race going and getting the okay to have thousands of people there over a weekend. So I understand. And motocross, that was originally supposed to start in June, is now been postponed to July 4th, and it's going to run through October 3rd. There's still going to be 11 rounds, but they had to make the change because if you've seen some of my other videos, the Glendale 7 that's coming up, Supercross is a priority. They don't want to cancel any of the races, so only thing they can do is postpone.
No and then! No and then! No and then! No and then!
There's going to be no weeks off, I believe. They haven't released the schedule yet, so boom. That's what they had to do. And then,
no and then!
MX Sports has taken the time to revamp their whole rule book, and I'm just going to go over a highlight and I will go in more depth. So the first one is eligibility requirements. You have to be now 18 years to obtain a pro license. The next one is scholastic eligibility. Now you have to have a high school diploma or GED. Third one is the anti-doping change, saying that minimum 1 year suspension. It kind of vaguely goes on to say some harder stuff is going to be 2 years. They also say that depending upon the offense, they might ban you for life. They have the discretion to do whatever they want. A little vague right there. I will go more in depth with that. The next one is helmet cam policy. They've pretty much gone out and say that they own all the rights for anybody like myself, Jeff Walker, anybody that decides to wear a helmet cam during the races, and small clip requirements of around 2 minutes. Last one is a code of conduct policy, which essentially you need to be respectful. We can't have this Barsha Tomac incident going on.
Dirty. I got a race too. It was dirty. Not. You can be aggressive. That was dirty. You watch my press? Yep. Still rapping, dude. No.
Which I think is completely BS because it gives some drama to the sport that we much need. We don't need these robots that ride dirt bikes because of their level of ability and their programming and the potential substances that they're taking. And now you're going to tell them that they have to talk like a robot? I don't know how I feel completely about that. So if you want to leave the video, boom, that's it. If you want to continue, I will go in a little bit more in depth of all those changes and a couple more, but those were the top ones. So stay tuned, or just continue watching the video. So that first one is just got to be 18 to hold your AMA Pro license commencing 2021. So you're grandfathered in if you're an old man like me. Well, I'm 29. But if you were 16 years old and now you're 17, but you had your pro license last year, well, null and void. You have to have your high school diploma or GED. No way to get around it. Wait, Johnny, pause the video. So what about all the guys that might be on factory teams that don't have their GEDs or anybody else? They can race? Huh, that's kind of silly. Supercross tried doing this where they changed it to where you have to be 18 and then they moved back to 16. So who knows if this is actually going to stick. Right now, just seems like throwing paint on the wall. I want to know what you guys think about it. Is that good? I personally think it probably is good. These kids, if you've seen any of my videos, I talk a lot about how having a high school experience, being a kid, not just being head first 100% all the time into this sport is difficult. It can't just change from the top tier level of MX Sports Pro Racing. It's got to change at the amateur level. Most of the kids that have factory rides from 65s and up. It's very difficult to get a factory ride once you're 18 years old. So I get the idea. I don't know if it's that helpful though. It's got to go throughout the whole community, whole sport itself. So let's get into the nitty gritty. The biggest change is that anti-doping policy. So penalties, word for word, a maximum period of ineligibility for 2 years of violations which involve a non-specific substance or forbidden method. A maximum period of inability. This guy can't talk, but we already knew that. Let's roll it again. Johnny, because of racing, didn't it take you 5 years to finish high school? Like, hypocrite! Hypocrite! A maximum period of ineligibility of 1 year for violations which involve a specified substance. Penalties for violations for the MX Sports anti-doping policy other than those for non-specific and specific substances for multiple violations may exceed 2 years. MX Sports shall, at its sole discretion, determine the effective date of suspension. With that being said, they might have to not wait for a governing body like WADA to impose restrictions and effective dates, or this is in addition to that. I'm not entirely sure how the process is going to happen until somebody pops hot, but them having the ability to do that because they're going to go privately outside of WADA, I think that's good and bad. Because it's good because they don't have to follow all the silliness of the IOC, but them being private, if one of the major top guys get hit, they might go, this is bad for the sport. We're not going to release anything. Just stop doing it. Or continue doing it because we make the rules and we give you a clean, a hall pass. So, interesting. I want you to comment down below on your thoughts. I know I've spoken openly about this stuff. So, the comment section is for you. And also, it says the rider selection process is going to be the top 3 riders from the 450 class and 250 class in a specific race or moto. They will determine at random who they want to pick. And then they also say the selection is also random for anybody inside the top 20. So good news. If you're not making pro points, dope to the moon. You can't get caught. Says it right here in the rule book. They will not randomly test anybody outside of the top 20. May that change? Potentially. But it says it. And this one's a little silly. I pertain this to Ronnie Mack. Rider apparel also changed. It says race boots are required. No work boots. So I'm sorry, Ronnie. Can't wear your work boots.
Woo! Someone needs to watch some Ron's riding tips.
And then they also changed that costumes are not allowed. They have to be approved by MX Sports. And they're forbidden. Most of them. Moving on. Helmet cam policy. On-track race footage use. So it is unlimited. They could do whatever they want with it as long as it's for mechanical or rider development purposes. So for public viewing, like social media, Twitter, it's owned by MX Sports, and the clip requirements have to be 60 seconds in length each, and then they don't exceed 2 minutes. And no commercial use. Has to be approved by MX Sports. And then you also have to go through tech inspection to see if your mount is in a safe position, and they approve it, just like with the helmet ejection system and everything else that they do in tech inspection, which they don't take a super diligent time looking at everything, but that's more for MX Sports than anything. I feel like there's no such thing as bad press. No matter what you put out there, it gets people talking, it ends up helping in a roundabout way. So inhibiting people from using this footage, I don't necessarily think is good for the sport, because we don't have a huge coverage of motocross to begin with. You got to have local privateers or just smaller guys putting that stuff out there for people to watch and get into the races to root for, not just the factory guys. Anyway, last one is super, super long, but it's the code of conduct and highest standards of safety and conduct of all credential holders. You're supposed to conduct yourself in a professional and sports-like manner, appearances, associations, affiliations. You have to go to riders meeting, and you have to go to autograph session, because any of this, because if you don't, it's a breach of conduct, and you could be fined or suspended at MX Sports' discretion. So they're making you do that. I know the whole COVID-19, some guys don't want to go to autograph sessions, but in the rule book, you have to. So it's good for the fans, not so good for the riders if they're not wanting to get sick, and being in one of the most highly aggressive, physically demanding sports on the planet. You don't want somebody coughing or sneezing in your face. I get it. You'd almost rather just pre-sign stuff, leave it out for people, and just say, hey, come back next year. According to the rule book, you can't do that. Oh, this one's interesting. This one's probably written because of my press video and maybe the doping video. But any credential holder that unreasonably or excessively publicly criticizes AMA Pro Racing, MX Sports Racing, AMA Pro Racing, or its officials may be considered to be acting as unsportsmanlike manner and be in violation of these rules according to subject to penalties as outlined in Appendix A. So I might not be able to race because of my videos if I keep it up. But you know what? I'm going to keep it up because I want to be open about this stuff. I want to put my thoughts and feelings out there in a roundabout way. Could be making a difference.
Yeah. In my opinion, AMA can suck it most of the time.
I don't particularly think that that's a good rule because it affects me. So I just wanted to take a little bit more time and banter about this ridiculous rule. So yes, as far as the First Amendment, freedom of speech and press, kind of is, where does this fall into? Is this more of a dictatorship? Can't badmouth MX Sports? Well, how the hell are you going to get anything done? How are you going to change if you're not going to debate? So I'm more and more for a union for the riders because this kind of crap is just, it's ridiculous. And you can't challenge anybody. You can't express yourself because there's fear of retaliation. I'm not going to name names. We all know who runs AMA and MX Sports and, Feld Motorsports and the whole sport in general. They're in a power position and they're trying to stay in power. They don't want riders rising up and protesting for things that need to change, particularly pay. And, I could go on and on and on. But where the hell is the comment box? How are you supposed to get your point across? Is your voice going to be heard? It's part of the reason why I took to YouTube. And again, as I outlined in the beginning of the video, this stuff, there's some good, there's some bad, but all of it's going to benefit MX Sports. That's exactly what's going on. So, are you guys ready for some racing? I'm ready for it to start up. I just got my suspension back from Factory Connections. I'm going to go over to my brother's house that has a big old nice garage so that I can put it on tonight.
If I ever cancel anything on Amazon, I've accidentally bought shit on Amazon.
Yeah, and you spent people's gift cards on Amazon too.
I did not realize that. Hey, drunk shopping
You're like, oh, hey,
is
look,
a condition.
I got $50 here.
Drunk shopping happens.
And then I'm going to test it out. But, again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And this is Johnny. Till next time. Barop!